So this is the place where I like to spend my working hours. I'm Irena Radić Rossi, as you have heard, and I work in underwater archaeology. Archaeology, that was a curious word. That was the thing that everybody said, you will never get the job. You will never get the job. That was one of the things that I've always heard. And also, I've heard you have to forget about the pyramids. Why do I have to forget about the pyramids? Because the pyramids were my main source of inspiration. While I visited Egypt, ancient Egypt, years ago, I noticed several groups of people that were doing something strange, that were doing something curious, something worthy of knowing what it is, and actually those were researchers that were doing archaeology. Soon I enrolled into underwater archaeology, and I worked on plentiful of interesting shipwrecks. One of the most interesting ones was the one that was loaded with cargo of the 1st century AD raw glass material. There was plenty of work to be done with all the ceramics that was found on that shipwreck, and there was plenty of work with dishes every day. Of course, I liked the idea of being the researcher, but I also liked the idea of being the mother. So I decided to have my family, to have children, and to spend 9 years of my career at home. Okay, so people started to think that I will never get back, that I will never get involved in anything serious anymore. But I simply returned, and I restarted from the point where I stopped. I researched plenty of interesting finds on the Croatian seabed. For example, this is the the 4th century BC shipwreck of the islet of Žirje. This shipwreck was one of the oldest ones discovered in the Croatian seabed, and besides the amphora, we found the 2 lazana that served for carrying the pots above the fire. Okay, we said that's a beautiful shipwreck. It's very well preserved, so it is useful to do some numerical modeling. And together with my colleague, Smilko Rudan, from the University of Zagreb, the Faculty of Naval Architecture, we discovered the site formation process. So how did it happen that the finds were there in the form that we found them? We discovered another shipwreck from the 1st century BC. It was an amazing shipwreck that we decided to do the photogrammetry. We decided to do the 3D model of the shipwreck find, and also, based on what we had as the orthophotographic drawing, we concluded that this is the ship that lies on the sea bottom with the deck covered on the bow and on the stern. In the middle, there were the amphorae that were coming out. But the most interesting find was certainly the shipwreck of Žirje. Gnalić, sorry. The shipwreck of Gnalić was one that was found in the late 60s. It was officially discovered in the late 60s, although it was known since the early 60s. And it was researched at the time in the late 60s and early 70s. The shipwreck of Gnalić yielded huge amount of beautiful finds. One of the finds is this nice bronze gun that was casted in Venice in 1582. The year 1582 was a special year for us because we switched from Julian to Gregorian calendar. All this could have been easy and could have been light, but it created a lot of hassle in the Venice of the time. The shipwreck of Gnalić contained beautiful finds. The finds like 400 spectacles with leather frames. The finds all different sizes of window panes or the brass chandeliers. The finds like the ironclad chest that was full of material like 3 linen shirts, 8 woolen caps, and 54 meters of silk damask textile. So this silk damask is the only non-cut textile that we have in the world. When I visited the site in 2005, I immediately knew that it was something to be researched. So we had to return to the site, and we invested our 7 years into restarting the project. In 2012, we finally returned to the site, and we found spectacular things. We found amazing things about the shipwreck and about the shipwreck finds. We dug also into the archives, and in the archives we found hundreds of documents about the shipwreck and its glorious story. So the story was more or less like this. In 1567, the ship was conceived in Venice. In 1569, it was launched, and in 1571, it was captured by Uluç Ali, the famous person from the naval history of Ottoman Empire. It soon became the admiral of the Ottoman fleet. Okay, so we have the ship, and it is in Ottoman hands. It is in Ottoman hands until 1581, when Uluç Ali decides to sell it to Odoardo da Galliano. Odoardo da Galliano, as a rich merchant of Venetian origin, of Italian origin, lives in Pera, Constantinople, and trades with his uncle that stays in Venice. In the moment of sinking, the shipwreck, the ship was loaded with cargo that was sent to Sultan Murad III. 5,000 window panes were sent to the Sultan to reconstruct his old palace with the harem, and the Doge himself decided to place some things, some rich presents for his family. The shipwreck itself happened in the moment of the most famous emperors and rulers of the time. Some of these people could have heard about it. If you put together all the material from the archaeological sources, so all the cargo items, all the people, and all the events, on the map then you see how broadly this shipwreck is connected. So it is the story of the ship itself, but it is also the story of the late Renaissance period. You cannot do it without the happy team, the happy and enthusiastic team that works with you every day and comes from all different countries of the world. We are all researching this shipwreck. We are all researching the starboard side of a big merchantman, but we are all researching in the same time the beautiful late Renaissance history. So my message of today's talk is, do not give up at the first inconvenient. So just when one door shuts, the others open. If you cannot find people like you that are impressed by the history, by the submerged history of the past times, and those people make your life difficult, prize them for being with you, for forcing you to do what you do. They will probably suffer twice. They will see you advancing in what you're doing, and they will also see you not being mad about them. So maybe they will change, they will understand that making other people's life difficult is not the best possible way. Thank you.